Hey everybody, it's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. If you've watched my previous videos, these last few videos, and I've mentioned the Nets, then you understand that I'm officially on the bandwagon as it pertains to them being the front runners for the championship. I am a diehard Laker fan. I've been a Laker fan since I was 9 years old, but I'm a Laker fan that is a realist. I am one of those Laker fans that can look at my team and say we're really good. I can look at our team and say we're really bad, and I can look at our team and say we're second, third, or wherever we rank. And right now, we're simply second. There is a team out there greater than us right now, and if we don't make some serious adjustments to our roster, they will capture our championship. That's just how that I see that playing out. The thing that makes it so incredible is that this is the first year these guys have been together. Like our Lakers last year who won it, this is their first year together. Most of the guys on their team are guys that probably wouldn't be there if they could create their team around the three players. So that makes it even more impressive that they're playing this well, because this is not a team built at all. This is a team that just acquired their pieces mid-season basically and now are just dominating somehow. They're terrible defensively, which is actually a plus in my opinion, because it speaks to the dominance that they're able to overcome poor defense and still destroy teams. Good teams, bad teams, they've beaten everybody. And most importantly in this conversation is the fact that KD isn't on the floor, hasn't been on the floor in over a month, and they're still running people up out of here. So that's the first thing I want to say. They're finding talent in players that are not supposed to be productive. That's another thing about this Nets team that's so damn interesting. I would say impressive, but a lot of that has to do with so much attention being given to those superstars that the other guys are just given open shots, given open opportunities, playing garbage minutes, etc. So they're able to play against lesser talent. You get the picture. It's just a real good opportunity for role players on that team to eat, and they're eating. You can look at a guy like Claxton, their center. He's starting to develop, and he's going to get better. He's a backup power forward, small forward center, but he's known for shooting a super ridiculously high percentage. In other words, he dunks everything. He lays up everything and he makes his shots. He rebounds. He's a guy that I think is going to get better and better and better, and I wouldn't be surprised if he happens to break out in the playoffs or something like that, because he's already showing signs and he's still a puppy. So when you're dealing with young players, tomorrow could be the day they go off and do something you've never seen them do before. You know, it's that kind of thing. And then they never turn back and never be the player that you knew him to be again. Like, just like what we're seeing from Anthony Edwards, like in Minnesota. It's like he started his career off slow. Then he started to really have some decent games. Then he had a crazy game and hasn't looked back since. He's been playing great ever since. So it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens with any young player. And Claxton is no exception to that. Another guy that they're getting something out of is Brown, a shooting guard that they've had on their team. I think they got him from Detroit. I don't know his game at all, but from what I've heard, he's a defensive player. Well, now they turned him into a scorer. He's been one of the main beneficiaries of James Harden's facilitation renaissance, so to speak. He's just been able to really keep consistent scoring on the floor for that team, on their bench and wherever he plays. Of course, you talk about a guy like Joe Harris, of whom I think at this stage is closer to an all-star than he is to a scrub, if that makes any sense. In other words, Joe Harris is a guy who you leaving him open, you sure? You got to double off of somebody, but make sure he's not the one you leave. He's your new age J.J. Redick. He's your new age pure shooter, and he is one of the best in the game and just so happens to play for this team. If he's healthy, he can help them withstand any one injury. In other words, if you don't get KD back, but he's still shooting like this, they can still win the championship. Like, that's how real Joe Harris's shooting has been pretty much for the last 2 years. He was like this last year, but this year it's just like he's playing with so many talented players. It's just like, oh, well, Oh, they gonna leave me open? All right, I'm gonna hit 5 in a row. Like he's one of those. So it's not a whole lot to say. You just said that he's not on your team. That's who Joe Harris is at this stage in his career. Every team should want him, and the Nets have him, and that's the end of that. And I think about the Nets, and I say, wow, do you know that they have a point guard who's arguably an all-star who's not going to play at all this season? Like, Spencer Dinwiddie is close to an all-star, and you're not even going to see him line up down there. They would be that much better if they could somehow get him back before the playoffs. But that's not looming. They're going to sit him, from what I understand, and that's the end of that. Get healthy soon, Spencer Dinwiddie, LA native. So yeah, there's just the depth of that team, and then Kyrie Irving is having arguably a career year, playing just great when he's out there. He did miss some time to start the season, but his numbers have been crazy. He's playing like a superstar, and he's Kyrie Irving, so you're not surprised by that. Like I said, KD's been out for a month, but KD's one of those guys where, and you might have seen me say this in a video, if you watch one of my Nets videos, he's one of those guys where he's not going to lose anything. He's not, like, I don't care if he hasn't played in 3 years. He'll probably need 3 games to knock off the dust, and after that, he's back to being Kevin Durant. So I don't think there's 3 players in this league that are greater than Kevin Durant. I don't. And if he's coming back even of 75%, that's more than enough. Like, him, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving should be able to keep themselves with jewelry on their hands for the next couple years. If they can stay together, they should have at least 2-3 rings. Like, the only thing standing their way is another super team forming or the Lakers getting a 3rd star. That's what could harm them. If the Lakers were to say pick up Bradley Beal, now they got a real threat. If the Lakers were to pick up a Dame Lillard, now you got to really deal. But other than that, it's 3-on-2 with the Nets versus everybody in the league. It's 3-on-2. That's really what it comes down to. They just have 3 superstars to everyone else's 2. And you got to give them credit because they got them all for multi-year deals. So it's not like this is going to end. You're going to have to deal with them. Now, the flip side is, can they keep enough talent around them to make them competitive and to be able to withstand injury like they're able to this year? And only time will tell. Only their GM will be able to tell that story. Is he going to make good decisions? It's up to that person. But at the end of the day, they have the makings of a really, really serious core. None of those guys are too old to where you're saying, well, they're going to fall off soon. No, they're not. They're not going to fall off soon. And this could be the beginning of something rather than just 1 year of dominance. So shout out to the Nets. I know they've been waiting a long time. Nets fans have been waiting a very long time. New York set through 50 years of bad New York Knicks franchising. They deserve a championship, and I think they're going to capture one this season. I would love to be wrong as a Laker fan, but I'm a realist. Just like I said, I knew the Lakers were going to win it last year. I pretty much know the Nets are going to win it this year. And the biggest reason why that is the case is because of the sacrifice and changing of play of a guy by the name of James Harden. Now, here's something that I think I want to take a little credit for on this camera. About maybe 7 months ago, when we were starting to hear rumors about James Harden becoming a Net, possibly becoming a Net, and what would have to happen in order for that to work out, the first thing I said was I didn't think it would work out because I didn't think James Harden would be willing to make the sacrifices necessary. He's too used to playing this way, blah, blah, blah. Even though I've seen him facilitate before with the Thunder in his early career, this was before he became who he's become. I don't know if he could take steps back and do that. Well, I came out with a video maybe a couple months after saying that and said, you know what, I changed my mind. I definitely believe James Harden would be able to change his style of play and facilitate for that team. I believe that the talk of him not wanting to be unselfish or not seeing the fruit in passing and making cohesive plays to make sure that Kyrie Irving felt comfortable, to make sure that Kevin Durant was getting the most shots, I felt like suddenly I believed he could do it. Like I was like, I changed my mind. I've seen him do this. I know he can do this. He was able to get big boy assists with the Rockets even when he was playing that style of play. There's 2 players that come to mind really quickly. Him being one of them, the other being Russell Westbrook, to where their being selfish is one of the most overstated things in all of basketball because they both average more assists than the people that they say are unselfish. You look at a guy like Russell Westbrook, he averages more assists than a guy like Chris Paul. You look at a guy like James Harden, he's averaging more assists than anybody in the league right now. He's averaging 11 assists. And I changed my mind before this manifested. I came around to seeing this happen before it did, even though I wasn't on board initially when the rumors started coming out. When it started getting closer to it, I started thinking, you know what, James Harden is not only capable of excelling as a facilitator, but he's actually a natural facilitator. So I want to give myself some credit because I was right to come back around and correct myself for being wrong initially. So there's that. But that's what it is, man. He has become a facilitator of the highest order. Not only has he embraced a lesser scoring role, but he seems to see the fruit and seems to have a passion for accumulating assists, just like he had a passion for accumulating points. And the team is better. You're getting all of the stuff that you didn't think you would see from the Nets because of it. What I thought I would see was my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, OKC type stuff. Carmelo Anthony, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. Who's going to go? My turn. And then when it comes down to the stretch of basketball games, we fall back on our habits, and ultimately it will be our doom. Now, I am not ruling that all the way out. Even now, as I make this video, what I just said could actually rear its ugly head in the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, who you are, who you've been, it's easier to make those adjustments when there's no pressure. But when it's a minute left on the clock, down by 4, James Harden has the ball. Usually in moments like that, guys do what they do naturally. They don't often go to what they've been working on for the last 16 months, the training, the changing of the shot. When the shot has to be the last shot, chances are you're going to shoot the shot you've been shooting your whole career. That's basically what I'm getting at. Chances are you're going to do what your tendencies naturally do when the pressure's on the line. You're going to go to what you know works, not what you've been working on. And that's going to be the test for the Brooklyn Nets. That's going to be the test of the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs. Will James Harden be able to keep up what he's doing right now in the regular season when he's facing off against playoff teams who are scheming against him and his team? Game 3, game 4, when they've seen you a bunch of times, they know what you're capable of, they know what you're going to do. Is he going to be able to continue to do what works, or is he going to revert back to his old, Houston Rockets ways? So we'll see. And it may not necessarily be about him making that call, but the two other guys. Is it going to be KD, who maybe looks off Kyrie and James Harden to take a shot? Is it going to be Kyrie Irving, who decides to pound the ball a little more with 2 minutes left in the game, in a playoff game? Like, those are the type of things. Are they going to trust one another when it matters most? If they do, they're going to win the championship. If they don't, they have a great chance of losing it even before they even get to the finals. I think things could fall apart in the Eastern Conference if they revert back to their old ways as individual players. But right now, you don't see any sight of that. What you see is a cohesive basketball team with a facilitating God as their coach. And I say God with respect to my Lord, but like, you know what I'm talking about. Steve Nash is a facilitating God. He is who's their coach. So a lot of what I think is going right with James Harden buying into facilitating, coupled with you getting all this stuff out of Claxton and Brown and Harris, I want to give credit to the coach. I want to give Steve Nash, first-year coach, some credit because he is getting stuff out of guys, and I didn't expect him to be able to do that. I knew James Harden would be able to score 50. I knew Kevin Durant would be able to go for 50. I knew Kyrie, et cetera, would go for 50, but I didn't think I'd see this out of those other guys. DeAndre Jordan is playing well. You're just getting stuff out of other players, and that's why they're able to consistently get victories. Jeff Green is having a renaissance. He's changed his game around a little bit. He's playing more of a active role with this team than he had with previous teams that he was on, and he's looking great for them. So, you got to give credit to them Brooklyn Nets, man. Even though people want to laugh at Steve Nash, I've heard one of my homies always says, I'm just waiting for Steve Nash to run a play. No, that wasn't my homie. That was Joe Budden. I was watching the podcast. But that's what he was saying. He was like, I just want to see Steve Nash just run one play. And I get it. Steve Nash is kind of, he's inherited a very good situation, okay? Not too many people would ruin it. But at the same time, he's getting stuff out of guys that other coaches didn't get anything out of. So the credit is due there. So yeah, that's what I gotta say, man. And then if you add Andre Drummond to that team, which I think is becoming a real possibility. I thought he was going to the Lakers, but now the AD's hurt. LeBron got hurt today. I think it's a good chance that he just signs with, just like Allen Robinson said of the Chicago Bears football fame. He felt that Drummond was going to the Nets. Now I think Drummond going to the Nets wouldn't be the worst idea for Drummond. Better fit with the Lakers, more likely ring with the Nets at this stage. Hurts me to say that, but it's just how I see it. So yeah, man, it's y'all's to lose. If you're a Net fan and you're listening to what I'm saying, I'm a Laker fan. And I'm here to tell you, I think you guys are better than us. I do, and I'm gonna lose a lot of fans that way. Probably a lot of people who watch me know I love my Lakers. They're not gonna want to hear that because we're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm just reading the tea leaves. Guys are gonna be fighting back from injury, and then you got this team over there just looming with all this Hall of Fame talent in their prime. Unselfish and hungry because 2 out of 3 haven't won any rings. Coach ain't never won no rings. Some of these role players that we talking about ain't never won no rings. Like, I just don't know how the heck you're going to stop them if they're playing unselfishly like they are right now. And don't let them get better defensively. Don't let them acquire the right defensive players in buyout. It's just not going to be very easy for anyone to get a series out of these guys. So, yeah, man. Yeah. I look at the Eastern Conference. I say, well, who would go up against them? I'd say the Philadelphia 76ers. But I just don't think the Philadelphia 76ers actually have enough. Tobias Harris playing well does help. Ben Simmons is always going to be Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid is playing like MVP when he's healthy. I think he'll be back in time to salvage the rest of his season. Maybe not win MVP, but he can get healthy and get back to where he needs to be before the playoffs. So they're going to be a threat, but I just don't have them beating the Nets as of right now. I don't. Not with them playing this well. No. So that's what I got, man. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the Nets are going to have to continue to play well. They did lose a game that they shouldn't have lost today, if I'm not mistaken. They lost to somebody, but that don't care. Like, that literally doesn't affect anything I'm saying right now. Bottom line is, who the heck is going to beat them in a 7-game series? That's the question. You might be able to get a game or 2 out of them, but can you get 4 out of 7? The answer is probably not. Probably not. My name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.